With Alabama coming out and absolutely shellacking Miami, a few questions were answered that many people really wanted to know. Number one, just how good is Bryce Young? The quarterback for Alabama is only a sophomore, and after having to sit behind a starter last year, this young man came out and played like a true veteran. 4 touchdown passes and a bunch of really easy throws, well, at least for him, is what makes this such an interesting topic. Bryce Young came out, good pocket presence, checked down when he needed, threw the ball away when he needed, stepped up in the pocket, rolled away from pressure. All these things you would think of from a player that's 25 to 28 years old, meaning he's already done with college and in the NFL, but yet he's only a sophomore. So teams are really going to have to contend with him moving forward because he had a command of the offense and he knew what he was doing. Finally, he was very accurate. When you have the skill that Miami does and you get picked apart like that, I mean, their secondary's got some serious talent, but they just didn't look like they could handle Alabama all that great anyway. And then Bryce, to finalize it, picking them apart, really accurate over the middle to the perimeter and on the deep ball to Jamison, the 94-yard touchdown. All of the above worked out for Bryce Young. The running game wasn't tremendous, but it didn't have to be. The running backs themselves, when you take away the sacks, averaged around 4.7 yards a carry for the top 3 backs. And that's going to be an interesting topic as well because Alabama is known to run the football, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. They're going to pass the ball so well, and they have some new players to watch out for, and that's going to make it really hard to stop them. Who do you stop? You go after the running game, Brian Robinson Jr.? Do you try to look out for the tight end? He had 2 touchdowns with 2. Or do you try to stop Jamison Williams? What do you do? Alabama's offense is once again a quandary. There's no one particular answer, and on every play they have an option to put a very talented football player in a one-on-one situation. That's the real goal here. I mean, just how do you find a way to do it? Well, Alabama's done it again. New coordinator, new system, but it's really not much different. Maybe they changed a little bit of the verbiage and whatnot, but the offensive coordinator and the coaching staff in general, they've done a good job. You can tell the body language, everything about the Alabama players, they looked comfortable. In game 1, that's a really impressive point. Defensively, this is where I was personally watching. Alabama's front 7 was hyped up a lot this year after having a pretty average defense last year. That's just true. They weren't near what you would expect from Alabama. But with that being stated, Alabama also had a lot of guys coming back, had some guys that were banged up some last year, etc. This unit is a little bit different. They looked motivated, very motivated. Will Anderson in particular, that guy is just an animal. He is about 230, 240 pounds, and he comes off the edge kind of like you would expect a running back in terms of his explosiveness. His first step and his subsequent second and third steps to set up a pass rush move as he moves at an offensive tackle, just tremendous. He is very, very athletic. He can bend and he can change direction like very few players can. And I had really thought that he was going to have a good game to begin with because I knew how talented he was as a freshman and he was one of the best pass rushers in the country. But even though he had 7 sacks last year, this is a guy that will most likely see double digits in sacks. And much like the offense, opposing teams are going to have to find a way. Which guys do we try and stop? I think Anderson is the number 1 guy, but it's hard to double team an edge defender when you have 280 plus pound guys that are very athletic at all 3 of the traditional defensive line spots for Alabama. I have no idea how good the secondary is because they didn't really have to do much because the receivers didn't have enough time to get into the routes to get open. The front 7 swallowed up D'Eriq King in the Miami backfield really quick. It was just complete domination from the outset, and we'll just have to see if Miami has really good receivers or not. I know Xavier Restrado had a really nice touchdown catch over the top. It was good coverage. But beyond that, they just really couldn't muster much. And D'Eriq King, as talented as he is, he's one of my favorite players in college football. He just doesn't have enough pieces around him, particularly at the offensive line spots. They were annihilated. There was one particular play, a kid came through the middle, started to do a swim move, but the interior offensive line just opened up like the Red Sea. They have mental errors, they have chemistry issues, and they flat out looked discombobulated. Very, very poor performance by Miami's offensive line. They tried different things, and I like Brett Lashley and his offense, but you're just going to go so far as what your offensive line allows. And then you combine that with the talent that Alabama possesses up front and at linebacker, Christian Harris and several other players. They just got destroyed. So Alabama and Miami disappointed in terms of competitiveness, but it did show a glimpse of what college football teams around the country need to do to be competitive with them moving forward. I don't expect too many teams to be that good, but in a couple of weeks, Alabama does go down to Gainesville and to play the Gators there. It's a tough place to play. We'll see what Alabama can come up with. I can't imagine it's going to be as easy as it was against Miami. Florida's definitely better than the Hurricanes, but still, this is a very unique situation. Once again, until otherwise proven, college football teams are chasing the Alabama Crimson Tide.